Good morning. Let's just quickly do a mic check. Is this crew in the back? Mic's coming through fine. It's an honor to be here. Great honor to be here and to speak at this event. I'd like to express appreciation to Revroad for providing the facilities here, and for the team, especially the crew, the backstage crew that's helped facilitate this event. And for entrepreneurs in the audience, if you have the opportunity to participate in joining this amazing Revroad process that is going on here in Provo, it would be a great privilege and honor if you get accepted to come in the program, and want to express appreciation to Darren Hill and for the process and service that he's brought to the community here in Utah, and this amazing team of Revers that I've had the opportunity to join here in the last several months. So I guess by way of introduction, anyway, Revroad, thank you, and appreciate the Million Cup organization for providing the opportunity to address you today. So by way of introduction, who's Berkeley Geddes? I'm a serial entrepreneur, and I wear that badge with pride and honor. Folks say, but it's a self-obtained and self-declared badge. Sure it is. And it's a badge of honor that anybody can acquire, and we'll address that here in a moment. So I've started some 48 companies. 7 have crashed and burned. Those are my polished gems on the shelf. I say polished because they're touchstones for me. I go back as the years progress on, I ask the question, what could I have done different? And every time I go back, the older I get, little gems of nuggets of wisdom come forward. And the answer to the question of what could I have done better, I realize, oh my goodness, if I had just thought of that. And then I realize the wisdom that had come to me over the years through the mentors I had chosen to facilitate with, or to join. And if time permits, I'll tell a quick story about one of my early mentors, Jim Haycock. But I appreciate being able to present DoBiz and this process that we're creating and some of the challenges that we're experiencing. I hope that as we walk down this path here for a few minutes, if bits of inspiration and wisdom come to your mind that would assist us here at DoBiz, would you please share those with us? Because we're on a path and a journey to do something here that we feel is extremely important for entrepreneurs. And so we're not up here saying that we've got the secret sauce currently. We're in the path to discover secret sauce, and if you would help us in that regard, we'd be ever so grateful at DoBiz. So how many entrepreneurs do we have in the audience here? And those that have joined us by webcast, I wish I could see your hands go up. There's a fair number of entrepreneurs here. So great to see those hands go up. That lets me know I'm with the right audience here. So let me just start off with this statement and have you contemplate this. I would submit that entrepreneurs rule the world. And I have shared this with folks over the last several years, and I have folks advance and come back to me with, no. Entrepreneurs rule the world? No, prime ministers rule the world. Magistrates, governors, presidents, they rule the world. Well, let's go to the Webster's Dictionary and look at the definition of the term rule. Because it says there, individuals that have influence and control over the masses. So influence and control. Interesting words there. Folks who have influence and control over the masses is the general concept of the word, the definition of the word rule. So how many of us this morning took a shower, slept on a bed and a pillow? Thank you, entrepreneur. Anybody brushed their teeth with that wonderful toothbrush and toothpaste? Thank you, entrepreneur. Did you head to work today on a bicycle, a scooter, or a car? Thank you, entrepreneur. How many, I see in the audience here, technology, even this facility to be able to do this webcast. Thank you, entrepreneur. I would submit that the amazing ideas of women and men over the ages have more rule and governance and control in our lives than any current president, magistrate, or ruler will ever have. So I come back to the comment, entrepreneurs rule the world. If we think about it in our current situation around the world in this current pandemic, it will be our entrepreneurs, women and men with great ideas that lift us out of our current challenges. And that's always been the case. When entrepreneurs are supported, good individuals with great ideas are supported in chasing their dreams, they elevate all of us. And so one of the main processes and functions, in my mind, with regard to advancing the human experience, is for those who are elected or by whatever process put in the role of magistrate or prime minister or ruler. One of the main functions and goals of those individuals should be to create a system that supports entrepreneurs in chasing their dreams. Protect them, encourage them, and build processes that facilitate entrepreneurs chasing their dream. That's been the magic, if you look at the history of the countries of the world that have accelerated their citizens in advancing their countries. One of the main variables I see when I review history is that the entrepreneurs in that country, the systems support them, and they've elevated the entire country. So entrepreneurs rule the world, and how to become one. How do you become an entrepreneur? So just spend a minute here, and then we'll draw some correlations, because this all links into the concept of DoBiz. I see two main ways to become an entrepreneur. I believe all great ideas and suggestions that come into our mind come from a higher source. So if the universe or the heavens or the God in heaven blesses an individual with a great idea, and that person chooses to pursue that idea, self-proclaimed title, they become an entrepreneur. A coveted position to be in, with passion and vision, chasing their dream. That's one way to become an entrepreneur. The second way to become an entrepreneur is to find an individual who has been blessed with an idea, and an idea that resonates with your soul, that resonates with your personal why, and join them and support them. Because you'll apply your creative intellect and your creative mind to advancing that idea, and in doing so, you will be entrepreneuring around that idea with the founder. And you're an entrepreneur as well. In fact, we call employees, really, employees a great title to have, and it's a great position to be in. But when you find a company that you believe in and you support, and you're in there ideating and supporting that company, you are entrepreneuring inside of that company, and you don't hold the title of employee, you hold the title of entrepreneur. It's still an E word, and it's a higher state of thinking when you're inside of a company that's doing good and you're applying your creative juices. You are an entrepreneur. So two ways to be an entrepreneur. So let's go into the presentation here, and I forgot to pick up the clicker. All right, thank you. So that's by way of introduction. So let's just look at DoBiz then. So what is DoBiz? You have a business idea, you're an entrepreneur. We have the means to help that idea grow. What's the main challenge that we're trying to solve? Well, the main problem is that entrepreneurs don't know what they don't know, and what they don't know will ultimately hurt them. I've lived that. I've been a part of that. Most entrepreneurs, too, don't know the language of funding. It's a mystery box to them. And that's sad, because almost every entrepreneur in chasing their dream is going to need to be supported by funding. And so every entrepreneur needs to learn to love that process, the language of funding, the process of funding, and make sure that their idea is surrounded with the funds needed to be successful. So here we are in 2020, and there is still no scalable, data-driven, interactive support tool for entrepreneurs to learn their optimal path to funding. We want to solve that problem with DoBiz.com. Now, problems have consequences, and we see this through all kinds of statistics with regard to entrepreneurs. 9 out of 10 entrepreneurs that launch in any given marketplace around the world, you have a 90% chance of failure. That is sad. It ought to be higher than that. I should say the failure rate should be lower and the success rate should be higher. So given 9 out of 10 fail, can we change this? This is one of the things that attracted me to Revroad, because those who have had the privilege to come into Revroad, the success rate that Revroad is driving with their roadies, with those who are, is astonishing. And the processes that have been discovered here are profound, because the success rate is a lot higher than 10%. By addressing the reasons why entrepreneurs fail, and we can quantify them, we can know them from research and experience, and by structuring a data-driven process that gates those reasons, more entrepreneurs can succeed and they will succeed. So the answer is yes, that statistic can be dramatically improved. For the benefit of the human experience around the world, that statistic can be improved. So how have we chosen to solve this problem? We've had several great minds of entrepreneurs looking at the challenge of what the average entrepreneur does not know, and what does an entrepreneur need to know to learn their optimal path to funding. And we've broken it down, and we've chosen to use the metaphor of a tree, because an idea is like a seed, and when you plant it, it grows. And so we've chosen to use the metaphor of a tree because when your idea grows and it's nurtured, limbs come out and then leaves come out. And we've looked at it and said, well, the leaves can be as modules of understanding that every entrepreneur needs to know. And there is an optimal sequence to serving this information up. So you can see in this structure that we have here, we call this the DoBiz tree. And the bottom limb on this tree is the introduction limb. And in this process here, we go through some of the early stages of looking at an entrepreneur's idea and beginning the process of teaching core principles. And then we move on to getting started in market research and product and service development and marketing and sales and accounting and legal and administration operations. And when you've gone through the whole process, you come up to this business plan, and it's been created by answering questions with a 2-year pro forma comes right out of this process. And then from there, with that in tow, with that being completed and done in electronic format, we can automatically complete the application to thousands of funding sources around the world. And understanding where the entrepreneur is and the challenges they face, we can help pinpoint their individual optimal path to funding, whether it's crowdsourcing or whether the funding can come from the optimal place to get funding, which is through serving customers and having customers in the marketplace, having your idea vindicated by having the privilege of having customers that will put cash on the barrelhead that comes into your company to support your operations. That's the best source of funding. And some ideas are powerful enough that that's the main source of funding. But you get all the way through, and then we take an entrepreneur all the way through launch and then teach the entrepreneur how to monitor 5 key points that we go through that we call discovering the vein of gold. This tree that you're looking at, and these limbs on the tree and these leaves on the tree, we're in the process of creating powerful incentives. That as an entrepreneur goes down this path, there's incentives along the way. Some of the incentives that we hope to negotiate are with companies like LegalZoom, Infusionsoft, Amazon, Microsoft. These aren't incentives that we've yet negotiated, but we hope to negotiate incentives. These are companies that should be agents of yes to entrepreneurs. We want to drag them into an environment of yes and support for entrepreneurs, because if a person is committed to chase their dream, then let's, as they complete certain sections of the tree, let's activate incentives, powerful incentives. And so there's a lot behind this particular tree. Other parts of the process of the tree along the path, as an entrepreneur identifies they need a mentor, we have currently hundreds of mentors at the ready for entrepreneurs to tap into. But we have also vendors, bankers, marketing specialists, social media specialists, logo, software development specialists, and other attorneys and accountants at the ready, where an entrepreneur inside the system can put out an RFP, a request for proposal, get that back, determine if the chemistry is there between them and that particular vendor, and determine if they want to activate that vendor in their services in support of the entrepreneur chasing their dream. So the tree also provides the basic understanding of a given concept, but facilitates easy connection with experts in that particular area, patents and trademarks and copyrights and all these wonderful things that become the experience of the entrepreneur. We can link them up with folks who can meet those needs. And as the entrepreneur progresses, basically they've got their lean canvas, business canvas, and their 2-year pro forma at their fingertips anytime, anywhere. Available on all devices, 24/7, 365. Now, one more thing I'll comment here about the structure of the tree itself. We had to set the mark on what type of entrepreneur are we going to develop this content for. And we realized early on that if we support the content for what we'll call a low experience, low educated entrepreneur, we support them all. If an entrepreneur is experienced, you can strip out the education and just answer the questions. And in 4 or 5 hours, you can have your lean canvas, business canvas, you can have your 2-year pro forma, and be ready to submit your idea to, at some point here, thousands of funding sources to seek for funding. But I want to just highlight here, if you look at this map, it's a little confusing, but we looked at it and said, let's break entrepreneurs of the world out, see if we can get some statistics and data on entrepreneurs. And we did locate the source, and I can provide that if you would like it. But we determined for our purposes, experiences, have they, as the entrepreneur on the experience side, have they at least tried to start one idea? And if they have, they're high experience, and if they have not, they're low experience. And on education, do they have a 12th grade education? And if they do not, they're low education. And if they have above a 12th grade education, they're high education. And that's the metric in the grid that you see on this graph currently. We have targeted DoBiz to support low experience and low education entrepreneurs. Because if those folks come out to DoBiz and they can't consume the content, then it can't benefit them. But by supporting them, we support everybody. Okay? So at this point, I've given a quick introduction to DoBiz, what we're about. We're about doing business and helping entrepreneurs do business. We're about helping entrepreneurs step forward and achieve a higher level of success, put themselves in an environment of yes and support and encouragement and incentives. And that concludes the presentation portion. So we'll open up for Q&A. Any questions?
How does DoBiz make its revenue?
So the question was, how does DoBiz make its revenue? There are several revenue sources that we're exploring. We haven't decided which ones we're going to turn on, but let me just walk through a few of them. First of all, currently the beta side of DoBiz is fully functional, and you're welcome to come out and apply to open an account and use the system. And currently it's a freemium model. We have thought that we could have DoBiz Lite, which would be a freemium model, and then DoBiz Pro, which would be a paid model. Maybe $25 a month for as long as every month that entrepreneurs need to use that system. It can take some entrepreneurs a year to get through the entire tree as they go through what I call the noodling phase of their idea. But that's one revenue source that we're going to be exploring. Let me just cover a few more. Another one is when we connect the entrepreneur to a vendor and there's a money transaction, we brought the referral forward. We could, from the vendor, collect a referral fee for linking the entrepreneur with a vendor who can assist them and take a % of that transaction. So that's a system that we currently do support. Haven't activated that engine, but it's been coded. Another way that we can generate revenue on the back end, if we link the entrepreneur with a funding source and the investor puts in funding, we'll take the referral fee on that as well. Another is that most entrepreneurs know that banks have money, but they're a hard money lender, and banks aren't very good at managing the relationship with entrepreneurs in their circle of influence. We want to change that, help banks manage that relationship, because in most countries of the world, if you don't have a relationship with a bank, you cannot pursue your business dreams. So those are essential services. And if at the point the entrepreneur qualifies for a savings account, a checking account, line of credit, merchant services, the banks are more than happy to pay a referral fee to DoBiz for helping them manage a relationship with the entrepreneurs. And so we've got that revenue stream that we can dial up. The freemium version of DoBiz can have advertisers. We'll have just put advertising, so we can also have pay for positioning and some of the things that we've learned that Google has taught the world about freemium sites, and we can activate all of those revenue streams on DoBiz as well. But those are just a few, and I can drill down on some of those if you'd like, but right now we're focused on, our main challenge right now is we want every entrepreneur that comes out this website and they activate an account, to once they get through that introduction, to feel like, wow, this site was created just for me. Our focus right now is on that, on the one and everyone. We want everyone to have a wow experience. We know that it's not quite there, but we know with the help of early stage entrepreneurs and your feedback you can help us create that wow experience. And we know that entrepreneurs come in many different paradigms and perspectives, and so the site has got to be adaptive to be able to serve up this content and these support services in a way that the entrepreneur, it matches their personal why, and it matches the way that they are wired and want to consume content. Great question. Does that? Okay. Other questions? Yeah. Great. The question is, what's the beta site is live, yes, and what's the URL? The URL is simple. It's dobiz.com. That's DoBiz.com. And at this point, when you come out the site, you'll see what we refer to as the short form DoBiz and the long form DoBiz. That's because we own both URLs. And initially, we thought we were going to use DoBiz with the DOOZ, DOOBIZZ.com. And we did a logo around that, and we stood the beta site up with the long form name. As we've expanded our team and we've readdressed that question, the vote has come back resoundingly that we should use the short form. So you'll have to forgive us while we're in this identity crisis at DoBiz with the long and the short form. So if you see that, don't let it dissuade you. We're moving everything over to the short form, DOBIZ.com. Thank you. Other questions?
Berkeley, great presentation. Can you talk about maybe some of your users right now and what their experience is and who you're going after to be users for this, the beta?
Yes. Great question, and it's what are some of our early adopters? We currently have over 91 entrepreneurs who are currently active in DoBiz, and we've had 2 that have gone all the way through the process, and great feedback from all of them. So as a process of getting their feedback and looking at our opportunities, because this is, pardon the metaphor, but we're trying to eat the elephant. And because this is a massive undertaking when we look at having this site be prepared to support all the varied aspects of entrepreneurship, there's just a tremendous amount of work to be done. So what's the first phase here? Right now we settled on academics. And the reason for that is twofold. We look at the websites prepared to support those who want to learn the process of entrepreneurship. So we have 3 universities who are using DoBiz as their anchor text for teaching entrepreneurship at an associate level and a bachelor's degree level. Now we like that because those students in those classes are going to be put through the entire DoBiz tree process. And that's kind of the stick because they want a grade. So we're going to have those entrepreneurs go through the entire tree, and we're going to get feedback from an academic perspective. And we'll be able to perfect and refine the content. So there's one of our academia right now is one of our main focuses. We like this as well because most universities that have an undergraduate program, associate program, or a graduate program in entrepreneurship, they also have centers for entrepreneurship to support entrepreneurs in the community, which means that, and they love this, faculty loves this because it's a means for them to actually support entrepreneurs who are ideating. And so these same universities are going to use the DoBiz process inside of their innovation centers or their entrepreneurship centers to support entrepreneurs who are affiliated with the university, folks, women and men who have a great idea and they want to pursue it. They'll be using the tree or the DoBiz process to actually support ideating. So through the academic process, we get both of those looks at our content and our process. And for the next 6 months, that's going to be our main focus is with universities and community colleges. Great question. Yes?
So my main question is with DoBiz.com, is there any sort of human-to-human interaction?
Any sort of human?
Human-to-human mentoring. I know you mentioned mentoring. How is that mentoring going to happen? How's the interaction?
Yes, Caleb, great question, and thanks for being our knight in shining armor this morning. Yes, so is there a human-to-human interaction? Yes, currently it's between the entrepreneur and the mentors that we link them up with, and also the entrepreneur and our DoBiz support team. We are in the process of activating an engine that would help entrepreneurs connect with other entrepreneurs around the world. And we're determining how we match them. Do we match them by where they're at in the process? Because we vision that 2 or 3 entrepreneurs forming a coalition inside of DoBiz around the world and walking through the process, supporting each other, would be a major support system for entrepreneurs. But we haven't activated that engine yet, but we hope to activate that engine soon. And so we see that as an important feature that we need to be adding to the website to support that human-to-human interaction. Okay. Great questions. Any others?
So at the beginning, you said you had learned all these different nuggets and gems of wisdom from starting all these 40-something companies. What was it?
48.
48 companies, which is really impressive, by the way. What is the most important gem or nugget of information and wisdom that you've received and that you've gleaned from starting all these businesses?
Oh, great question. So what's a gem of nugget that I could share here? Let me share an early stage nugget for me. This is going way back, and I won't put the dates on it because it'll date me. But that's okay. This is going back into New Jersey, Phillipsburg, New Jersey. One of the first companies I started was a computer consulting company called Berkeley Computer Services in Phillipsburg, New Jersey. And my wife supported me in this. At the time, we had 3 children living in a rental home, and 6 months into it, and things were not going so well. On the home front, we were eating macaroni and cheese and pork and beans, and we were 3 months behind in our rent. Anybody been there before? Okay. I just knew that if I could prime this pump and get past the current cash hurdle, that all would be well. So I'd run my analysis. I need $5,000 in the worst way. And I shared that with my brother, and he introduced me to one of my early mentors, Jim Haycock, from Bangor, Pennsylvania. And I called Jim up, and he graciously said he would meet with me. Now, Jim had spent his entire life, he was 68 when I met him, and he had spent his entire life ideating in atomic energy here in America, working for the Nuclear Regulatory Agency, and had done very, very well. So I drove out to Bangor, Pennsylvania, and he gave me an hour and 45 minutes of him asking questions. And I just can remember this meeting as though it were yesterday. And so I can talk about it in great detail, but let's just get right to the gem. At the conclusion of him drilling down on my idea and what my plans were, he said, so Berkeley, if I were to write a $5,000 check, would you accept it? And my inner voice said, try me. Test me on that one. Write the check and see. But what I said to Jim was this: Jim, I would be honored if you would believe in this concept and in me and this idea enough to provide the funds that were requested. He said, great. You'll take my money. Will you take my advice? And my inner voice said, trick question. If I say no to the advice, then I don't get the money either. Isn't that sad? Our inner voice works. Sometimes we're our own worst enemy. But I said to Jim, Jim, I would love to have your advice. And along with the advice, the $5,000. And he says, okay. Well, Berkeley, if you need the money, I would give it to you. But you don't need the money. What you need is the advice. Now I'm really concerned. Check is threatened. I said, Jim, I need both. I really do need both. He said, no, you don't. If I give you the $5,000, you'll be back here in 30 days, and I'll have to double down on my investment. And why would I do that if I know that all you need is the advice? Now, you're a man of your word, aren't you? See how he's trapped me in his questions? Who does not want to be a person of integrity? I said, Jim, I am a man of my word. He said, great, I'm going to hold you to it. You said you would take my advice, so I'm going to give it to you, and that's all you're going to leave here with today. 5 minutes left. He gave me 3 gems. The suggestions he made wasn't the gem. The gem for me was what happened when I left, because he ushered me to the door and sent me home. 45-minute drive home, and I will tell you, I went to a place that no entrepreneur should ever go. Dark thoughts of, my wife and my family deserve better. I'm a failure. I am coming home like Jack and the Beanstalk with 3 beans, having spent an hour and a waste of time. And about 15 minutes before getting home, this thought crossed my mind. How ungrateful can you be? Here's a 68-year-old experienced gem who gave you his most valuable asset, an hour of his time, and shared his life experience with you, coalesced into 3 suggestions. Don't you think for a moment that what he is saying is correct and the principles are true? And did you express your gratitude when you left? I gave platitudes, but not the gratitude that mentors deserve. So by the time I got to the front door, I actually rang the doorbell, and my wife opened, and I said, honey, we got to go to work. And so we went in, and we applied those 3 golden nuggets. And I will tell you, within 1 week, we had $6,000 in the bank account, brought our rent current. We were no longer eating macaroni and cheese and pork and beans. Within 30 days, we had enough money that we opened a computer store in Allentown, Pennsylvania on MacArthur Road called Computer Express. Within 6 months, we had a satellite office in Bluebell, Pennsylvania, 15 employees. We had enough money to put a deposit for our first home. And I went back to Jim Haycock for 8 years, every chance he would get me. I had him involved in every single thing I did. And he continued to provide wisdom gems of nuggets for me. Jim Haycock passed away here several years ago. But my expression of gratitude, he had in his 68 decided he wanted to hike the entire Appalachian Trail. And he was doing it in segments. And the last segment was the part in New York where you go across the Bear Mountain Bridge. And I knew he was coming across from the Connecticut side. And so I knew when he'd be coming off the trail, because he invited me to join him that day. And I wasn't able. And I don't know why. I should have been on that last segment with Jim Haycock, but I was there when he came off the trail with 5 local news agencies. He was a quiet, humble man and didn't like the exposure, but many later told me his wife said that was one of the greatest experiences of his life. As he finished the Appalachian Trail, it became the public interest story on the news that night in New York City. I think 3 of the stations actually broadcast it that night on the 6 o'clock news. And so we all had a chance to sit in Jim Haycock's home and watch the feature story on Slim Jim, the LDS trekker finishing his Appalachian Trail experience, or Appalachian Trail, however you want to pronounce it. Long-winded answer, but my advice is for every entrepreneur, find a mentor that is experienced, who will share their most valuable gift with you, their time and their advice and experience. And that's, you'll be much closer to achieving success. Next question. Is that? Yes.
So what were the 3 nuggets?
They were simple. They applied to the challenges I had at the time. I can tell you straight up, and obviously all 3 of them. One was raise your price. I was out there as a consultant at $25 an hour. He said, Berkeley, with your background and experience, degree in computer science, a degree in accounting, and your understanding of these new PCs and personal computers and software around them, Lotus 1-2-3 back in the day and WordPerfect, and applying them in business, you're well underpriced. I go in the market even back then, and folks with experience in consulting were even charging $100, and even newbies were out there in the market at $50 an hour. So why am I seeing her at $25? Okay. In other words, raise the price of your computers. The computers of the day were obviously the Packard Bell. Compaq was just launching. Epson had a PC-compatible line, a leading edge. But the main ones, MicroAge and CompUSA, were selling Apple and IBM PCs. And our store was a PC-compatible store. And I had 10% margin. He said, you need to have a 30, 40% margin. Because the PC back in the day was $1,200 and the compatible was $500. Well, they do everything that a PC does for $1,200. Why sell them for $500? Sell them for $7, but up your margins. And the third advice was reach out to all of your current clients that you have. You have 15 stable clients, and navigate. He gave me the process to navigate for transitioning from $25 an hour to $75. I actually didn't. I launched to 50 because I thought I would lose them all. I went to 75 within 2 months. And within 6 months, I was at 100 and well over 100 for some clients. But I called D&L Well and Pump Drilling Company out of Clinton, New Jersey, my lead account on Monday morning. And this is where the 6,000 came from. Talked to Diane Lane and Glenn Lane, still in operation today, dear friends from long ago. But I called Diane Lane up and I said, Diane, you're going to get a letter from me, and I wanted to call you so it's not a surprise. Price is going from $25 an hour to $50. And so I just didn't want you to be surprised by the letter. I'm going to give you 30 days. If you want to try and find someone else, that's fine. This is what she said to me over the phone. Berkeley, Glenn and I were talking this last week. How is Berkeley supporting his family? He's got 3 kids, and all this he's done for our business has been phenomenal. How is he surviving, though, on what he's charging? So she said on the phone, Berkeley, we're not going to wait till the letter comes. In fact, we're going to go back over the last 2 months. We're going to prorate your invoices at $50 an hour and send you the check. Emmy Corporation, Allentown, Pennsylvania, had a similar experience with them. He didn't go back and prorate the previous invoices, but he said all your current invoices, and there were several I had not yet submitted to him, he said put it at the 50 starting right now. And those were the 3 nuggets that he gave me. Spot on, I would say, and for someone to be able to pinpoint that was valuable.
Thank you so very much for your powerful stories and for coming here today for us, Berkeley. We have one question that we always like to leave with our presenters for 1MC. What can the 1MC community do for you?
Oh, that's a great question. And I would say what we could use right now are early adopters of DoBiz, folks who would have a passion to see where we're going and launch into that DoBiz process and give us your feedback. Help us discover the wow experience for entrepreneurs. How can we help more entrepreneurs around the world be successful? And so we'd love your recommendations and your advice as with early adopters of the DoBiz process. Thank you.